everybody? Welcome back to Pop Culture Warrior. Boy, howdy, I'm excited. My guest tonight is an American voice actor and musician. He's known for voicing young Hercules in the 1997 Disney film Hercules, Charlie Carbon in Kangaroo Jack, Good Day USA, Revolver Ocelot, who can forget, in Metal Gear Solid 3, Spiderman, Electro, Harry Osborn in several of the Spider-Man video games and cartoons, Ryu Hayabusa in Ninja Gaiden 2 and forward from there, Shiro and Voltron, Legendary Defender, and so very much more. After looking through his resume, I honestly feel like I've heard this man's voice my entire life. Without further ado, everyone, please give a huge welcome to our guest tonight, Mr. Josh Keaton.
What's up? What's up?
Yay! Yay!
On WTM.
Hey, man. Thank you for coming on, man. I'm seriously so excited because when I first, I was trying to get you on and I was like, oh, I knew you had been in Marvel's What If and a few things. And then as I start like digging into it, I'm like, oh my God, I know this show. Oh my God. And then like going all the way back to like young Hercules, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, going down the rabbit hole.
That was like, I was like, that was my childhood. I was like, I'm all puny and little, and like I connect to young Hercules. You know, I want to be the very best. Anyway, I almost started going into the Pokemon theme for some reason. But thank you for coming on, man. I'm so excited to learn all about you. First question out the gate, and we've got less than an hour, so I want to make sure we take the most of it. And you have such a long career. I'm literally going to nitpick through it. Out the gate. What is your military connection?
My brother-in-law Danny did 3 tours in Iraq, and so he was in the Air Force. He's back now, and he's settled in. He's got a bunch of kids, and he's just living his best life.
Oh man, God bless. That's awesome. Thank you. Hey, please send along our thanks for his service. That's incredible. We appreciate it. Oh man, I have so much. I have so much I want to ask you about. You know, first off, you know, and I know you were kind of probably listening into the show a little bit as you were waiting, but obviously very pop culture, very, you know, what's in the news, what's happening. Let me ask you, what do you geek out about? What's your thing?
Well, comics. I was a big Spider-Man fan, quite obviously, and I love fantasy stuff. One of the things that was like a big tradition when they were new were the Lord of the Rings movies, and me and my little sister Danielle, because they would always come out around Christmas time. So that was kind of like our Christmas Eve tradition, was going and watching the Lord of the Rings movies. And you know, Christmas Eve, we'd watch them. So that was like our thing. So high fantasy type of stuff. I was a big World of Warcraft junkie for a long time. Even before I got the role to play King Anduin in World of Warcraft, I was a player. You know, I played the game. And video games, all kinds of video games, first-person shooters, open-world video games, Rock Band. I love driving games. I'm a big car guy. I like tweaking cars and modding things. And now it's become house stuff. So now I know how to drywall. You know, I know how to do. I try not to do electric because I don't want to burn down the house. But like minor things I'll do. But like big stuff I won't. But yeah, I mean, just. Honestly, the stuff that gets me really excited is just modifying things, learning how things work, learning how things go together, how they come apart, how you can tweak them, make them more efficient, whether that be computers, whether that be the way your house functions, whether it be cars, whether it be anything. I love that.
That's so cool, man. Oh God, we would just get along swimmingly. I really believe that.
Engineering for the win.
We're going to be best friends after this. I always like to know a little bit, you know, given that, you know, you have a platform, huge following, what charities do you support? Like what you know, like what themes, you know, are you trying to help and, you know, align yourself with?
I'm a huge dog person. I'm a sucker for dogs. My last dog, Chauncey, who we had to put down right before COVID, he had congestive heart failure, and so he was kind of on borrowed time for like the last 3 years. And he actually outlived the doctor's prognosis by like 2.5 years. They gave him 6 months. He was kicking for for almost 3 years. But after that, he was on so much medication, it wasn't fair to him to keep him going. And so that was like the hardest decision I ever had to make, was to put him down. And we did it here at home with the family and everything, right in his favorite spot. But that was really hard, and it taught me that I can't ever be without a dog. Like there's just the kind of companionship that I don't really feel like I get from anything else. So we have another dog, Bruce, and Chauncey was a rescue. Chauncey, he was like a rescue. He didn't even come from a shelter. He was a stray dog that followed us home. And we spent a month trying to find his owner. And nothing ever materialized. We had no chip, no anything. So we took him to the pound that he normally would have gone to had he been picked up. And he said, don't adopt him out. If nobody comes for him, we want him. So we had him for about 10 years. And then we found our current dog, Bruce, who was also a rescue. He was rescued from the streets of Tijuana. And they found a whole litter of these puppies. And we actually know when he was born because they rescued the mother who had just had this litter. And I just see how many dog rescues really struggle for resources, and how so many dogs just get put down because there's not. It's not even that there aren't enough people to adopt them. It's just that so many of these shelters just don't have the budget to keep them going. And then there's so many budget cuts with the municipal facilities that so many of them just get put down. They can't find a home. They're gone, which sucks. And so animal charities, but particularly dogs. Like I love dogs, and so that's probably one of the biggest ones that I like to support.
Wonderful, man. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Let's see. So, did a little snooping, a little digging, a bit about your background, if the internet is to be believed, right? But that you were born just outside of LA, yes. I always feel like, does that tend to like force the hand into the entertainment business? Like, oh, we're so close to Hollywood. Like, let's give it a.
No, I mean, like. It's weird. My parents are the ones that kind of got me into it, and they weren't even in the entertainment industry to begin with. Like, it was almost like it was their dream, like, to have us in this. And I have 3 sisters, and my older sister was the first one that was in it. Like, they had put her in like beauty pageants and things like that, but beauty pageants are all rigged in terms of like the people that win are the people that pay the most to enter. Like, they don't just have the beauty pageant; they have like all these little side events, like the DLC. They'll have like the best smile and the prettiest eyes and this and that. And like whoever enters the most of those is going to be the one that wins because they spent the most money to be in this thing. But the place that it couldn't really be fudged was the talent show. The talent portion of it's like, if you see somebody come on and just crush it on stage singing, and then somebody that comes on that has no business doing a talent show but wins because they were in all these other things, people are going to be like, that's a little sus. And my older sister's a good singer, so she would always win these. And so that's basically, she got an agent through that. And she started going out on auditions, and I wasn't even there at this one audition that it was a commercial, I think, Ocelot commercial, and she was auditioning for that. And I was just there because my dad worked sometimes 3 jobs. He's a school teacher. He teaches English as a second language. So sometimes he would teach 3 jobs, and my mom would schlep my sister around to auditions and classes, and then I had to go because who else was going to watch me? So I was there, and I was this real precocious kid. I would just go up and kind of talk to anybody. And the casting lady came out and sees this kid with these big blue eyes, and I go right up to her and start talking to her, and I ended up getting pulled into this audition that I wasn't even there for, and I ended up booking this job. My sister didn't book it. And she probably still hates me to this day for that. And yeah, I mean, it kind of just started from there. So I was a child actor for a really long time. But yeah, I wouldn't say that like that there was a draw to it because I lived there. I'd say it was more, it was available. So it was easier to start out than it would have been had I lived somewhere else, because if you live somewhere else, you're not going to grow up as a child actor unless you move out here. There was this place called the Oakwood Apartments that was like right behind Universal Studios. And that was kind of like the place where everybody would come for pilot season. And pilot season would be like the beginning of the year. They don't really have it anymore. But at the beginning of the year, they would cast all of the new pilots, the new shows that they were going to try to sell. And so kids from all over the nation would get dragged out by their stage moms, and they would all live at the Oakwood Apartments. And yeah, I mean, unless you were that, unless you had a stage mom that was going to bring you out, you know, unless you live in LA, then you're really not going to have the opportunity. So yeah, I wouldn't say that it pushed us into it, but it was there. So that's kind of how we started.
I got you. That makes sense. Let's and by the way, guys in the chats know the deal. They're already throwing in a ton of questions about Spider-Man, about Revolver Ocelot. So we're gonna get to those. Keep them coming by all means. I wanna set the foundation a bit. I wanna give us a little bit, get to that point, but we're definitely gonna get to those questions. So keep them coming, guys. We're gonna take a little sec. We're gonna skip over because I'm doing my digging. I'm sorry. The whole 1990 boy band phase.
Yeah. I'll have to skip over that. Like that was a fun time, man. That was a good time in my life. I mean, kind of. There's some bad about it too. But,
I'll only say to skip it over just because there's so much other great stuff that I really want to get to, and B, I feel like we could totally run on a tangent about whole boy bands in the 90s and all that. But moving past that, I'm curious before. Obviously this started at a very young age, right? You were Osh Gosh Bagosh commercial from practically in diapers. But do you recall when the switch happened of where like, okay, I do really want to make this a thing? And then also, I'm curious, what did you see for your future before you saw acting, before you saw the voice stuff, before you saw the on-camera stuff?
Oh, man.
What did you think you were going to do?
Before that, I wanted to be an astronaut. I seriously wanted to go to space, but like we didn't have money, like so I couldn't go to space camp. I couldn't do any of that kind of stuff. And not only that, it was like I said, my parents just kind of kept pushing this, and like I wanted to do other things. Like I wanted to, when I was growing up, I wanted to play video games. I wanted to play baseball. I wanted to go to space. I wanted to go to space camp, but it wasn't in the cards, like. Who's going to take me to do all that when, my sisters have dance classes and acting classes and this and that and auditions. So it was kind of like I was the only boy, and there were 3 sisters that were all at dance class. So I kind of had to be at the dance studio. It's just how it was. I got shuttled to where everybody else did. And it's weird because like I went along with the flow for a very, very long time, even though for a long time, it wasn't even really what I wanted to be doing. And by the time I got to be like a teenager and all of that, I started to see a little bit of success, which was really cool. And so I started kind of going to it with that, but I still didn't even really take it all that seriously. And then when I was in the boy band, like I enjoyed touring, I enjoyed doing all of that, I enjoyed singing like that. That was really something I enjoyed, but the business side of it really sucked ass. Like it was horrible. Like at least in acting, there's unions to protect you and to give you somewhat of a future. You have pensions that you contribute to that are going to be there. You have healthcare that you contribute to, so that you're not going broke because you get sick. Even though it's the healthcare just all over the place is awful. Even if you have good healthcare, our country really gets that wrong. But I mean, there's that, and then there's worker protections. There's all kinds of things that keep you from getting exploited and keep them from, grossly profiting off of the work that you do without cutting you in on it and limiting the hours that you can work. And safety regulations. Like, there's a lot of good stuff in that. There's none of that in the music industry at all. It's a free for all. It's the Wild West. It's ripe with exploitation. So the music side of it, I mean, except for writers actually have it pretty good. Publishing companies really take care of their writers, but in terms of artists, you're on your own, man. And if you get signed to a really shady manager, which we were, I pretty much the entire nest egg that I had made from being a child actor, I blew getting out of bad music industry contracts and just having to start from zero again. And I'd say, honestly, it wasn't even until I was probably in my mid-20s that I was really like, I really do enjoy this. Like, I'm not just doing this because this was what my parents put me into, and this, like, I enjoy doing this. And I started to take it more seriously. And then when I started doing more voiceover, like that opened up a whole new thing, because I was like, it's a lot harder to get typecast doing this, you know. And it was really hard for me to not get typecast on camera, because there's always this gatekeeper that's like, you have to look a certain way. So I'm Latino, my mother's Peruvian. I was never really considered like Caucasian looking enough to do the dog whistle was all American parts. So I was never Caucasian enough to do that. I'd go in and I'd audition for those parts, and I'd always be like, oh, what? The first question out of their mouth was, what's your background? And I'd be like, oh, okay, guess I'm not going to get this one. But then when I would go audition for the Latino roles, they'd be like, are you Latino? And I'd be like, yeah. And they're like, but you have blue eyes. And I'd be like, so? Like, we come in all shades, all kinds of different eyes and all that. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, so it was just weird how there was always this gatekeeper that certain people had to look certain ways in order for them to be portrayed on screen. And I was always kind of in between the two categories. But there was so much less of that, and I mean, at that time, virtually none of it in voiceover, where if you could sound like the character, you could play the character. And that to me was so appealing. And so I got some, and it was this weird kind of twist of fate, because there was a writer's strike kind of in the early 2000s where like a lot of stuff went out of production, but it didn't affect animation. So around that time, I got some pretty good roles. I got Spectacular Spiderman, got a couple other things, and I mean, the ball really started rolling with that, and I just kind of rolled with it.
Yeah. Hey, I feel you. Puerto Rican, practically 100%. Always too white to be Spanish, too not white to be white. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like we can be from a lot of places, and we can look a lot of different ways, and that doesn't necessarily dilute what we are. It's a weird thing.
I always tell people, my family must have been from the shaded side of the island. You know, we didn't get a lot of the sun, you know.
Well, my mother-in-law is Cuban, and she is like the palest person I've ever seen in my life. And she was like 100% Cuban. Like, she was literally one of the ones that came, one of the refugees that came on the Pedro Pan flights, which for those people who don't know, like, people were so desperate to get out of Cuba that they literally sent their children on planes to come to the United States with nobody, no parents, nobody. They sent them on planes to come here. And she's like clear. she's the palest person I know, but she's
translucent. We're translucent Americans. That's what we go by.
No, yeah.
And you're actually getting a lot of support in the chats already, saying like, I feel that, I went through the same thing. Your nationality should not be a factor of getting a job.
It sucks.
Yeah. So rewind just a bit. You know, early '90s. I know you had a couple credits on like the Ghostbusters animated TV series, Captain Planet, Peter Pan. You got an episode of Batman the Animated Series, one of the best cartoons of all time. I don't care. I'll fight anybody.
Conroy.
And then as I'm looking through it, something that stood out to me, and probably I would assume is one of your earlier big roles, is you got cast for the Back to the Future animated series,
yes.
Which some people remember, some people don't. I don't know. It's one of those things.
I just showed my kids this show. It holds up even today.
It holds up. It holds up. 1991, Back to the Future. You played Jules Brown, the son of Emmett Brown. 25 episodes. I mean, I'm a huge Back to the Future nerd. You can probably see flux capacitor and out of time license plate. A huge Back to the Future nerd. So much so, I had to crack into my own little vault. Let's see if you appreciate this. I don't know. Hang on. So this is a film cell.
It's Jules.
There's your character. Yep. And you can see these are real film cell, actually used on the cartoon. Hey, do you got any of those? You got any?
I do. I have one where it's got Jules and Vern and Doc, and then Clara over on the other side.
Nice. My prized one that's sitting off to the side is I have the DeLorean. I mean, come on, that's the star of the show.
The DeLorean. I actually, funnily enough, live right by the Twin / Lone Pine Mall. It's the shopping mall by my house, and it's sadly dying. But yeah, I mean, I would go to eat there. I just went and I got some Wingstop, the new sandwiches or whatever, and it's right past where Marty rolls down the hill.
Scott,
it's super cool. Super cool.
Shed a tear. That's the, all malls are just
made
dying.
the drive to the parking lot. Like the gym is right there. The 24-hour fitness that I go to is like right there at the mall. So like every now and then I'll like make the drive looking for a parking space, and I'll be like, all right, gotta look out, gotta get to 88. But I don't.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a lot of people coming around the corners just doing like trying to get to 88 on the backside of that.
I'm sure they're used to it.
People don't appreciate it anymore. That's sad.
It's one of those malls that's literally just kind of starting to disappear, and like inside it there's like a dollar store and like some random clothes store that doesn't even have branding. It's like, you know, you see the walls that have like the slats for you to put the shelves in, the ones that just come stock. Like it's that. Food court has like 2 places you've never heard of, but they have a really good arcade. They have a really, really good arcade.
That place should be a historical landmark. There should be, you know, statues. There should be convention. There should be the whole deal. Okay.
Used to have the DeLorean in the mall for like 6 months, and then it didn't even attract people. So yeah, it was sad.
So sad. So coming out of that, you know, you did have a couple of on-camera appearances. You know, Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, an episode of Boy Meets World, Sister.
I shit my pants on that show.
Well, that's what you're getting ahead, because this is what I want to ask. Because you say there's Dr. Quinn, Boy Meets World, Sister, Step by Step, Baywatch, Chicago Hope, a bunch of appearances. I was curious if you had any wild stories from those early days.
Oh yeah, I sharded in period wardrobe on Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. Basically, I had a little too much craft service, and maybe the cream cheese on the bagel wasn't really all that fresh. And you know, middle of the day, I started getting the rumblings, and I was playing like one of Dr. Quinn's snooty upper class Boston relatives, cousin, nephews, or somebody. And so I was like in the knickers, the short pants, and the socks, and I had like, you know, the little cap and everything. And I made the mistake of trusting a fart, and it was a very dumb thing to do. I immediately realized that the fart came with friends, and so yeah, I had to go into one of the bathrooms and just go commando the rest of the day, and never trusted a fart again after that. But yeah, I shat my pants in period costume.
I was gonna say, like, I mean, I guess depending, was dysentery still a thing at that time? Like,
I went method acting.
So method, man. You went so method. My character has days to live. He's got the dysentery.
Yes.
It was a choice. It was a choice. You know, some would have said it was a dumb choice, but it was a choice.
I committed.
So 1997, obviously, Hercules, and you play the voice. You're the voice of young Hercules. This was a monumental movie. I remember, again, it's part of my childhood. Like, I remember the fanfare. I remember, you know, Disney really pushed it. A movie that honestly I still holds up today. I mean, honestly,
absolutely. It's really underrated for the time too. It wasn't like a big box office hit then, but since then it's found a massive audience. I mean, I get tons of people at conventions coming up to me wanting to just talk about Hercules.
Yeah, that's
Hercules. You know, the music is a fantastic soundtrack. It's I'm glad that it found its legs later.
Yeah, I think it challenged all the things that had been set before. You know, the leading lady's not the damsel in distress. You know, right. the villain. He's not like just like it was kind of funny. Like, you were kind of rooted for him a little bit, you know. The sidekick was this grumpy old man. Sound like there was just this. It broke so many norms, and I don't think people were ready for it. And like you said, I think it's found its legs, and I still love it to this day. Do you recall like doing that? Like did you have a good feeling about it? Was it something that, you know?
That was the biggest thing I had ever done at that point in my career, like by far. Like getting to be a Disney prince, like even though I wasn't the older one, like it still counts. It's still Hercules in Hercules. Like that was the biggest thing I'd ever done. that was massively exciting. Getting to go to Disney Animation and go record there, even though I didn't end up singing the song because I was going through a voice change and they had this one high note that it was very hard for me to hold out as long as they needed to. But now they have, I basically have more computing power here than they didn't even use computers at the time. It was all done to those big tapes. And so now if they were to do it, it would have been me singing because, if I couldn't hold it out that long, they just, copy paste, J-Lo it, and it's all good, It would have been easy. But that's not what they had back then. But I originally did do it. Like my mom has a cassette of me singing somewhere in the at her house where it's, a copy of me of the version of me singing Go the Distance with the orchestra. And I actually recorded it with a live orchestra playing to me, which was crazy. Like I'd never experienced anything like that in my life. And then they didn't have, none of it was computer, it was all hand-drawn animation. So they had an animator who they introduced me to, and he set up a video camera who was basically recording all of my sessions. So even though the concept art for Young Hercules looked nothing like me, when you watch the movie, it looks a lot like me. Like he moves, the way his expressions, the way his eyes move, everything. It's me. It's crazy. It's a little uncanny. And so that was an amazing thing to get to experience. Like getting to meet some of the people in the cast. They really treated us well for premiere. They flew me, and I was still a kid, so I went with my mom. But they flew me and my mom out to New York for the premiere, and it was awesome. It was a huge deal. It was a big to do, and like part of me was like, in a weird way, I'm kind of immortalized as like this, as Hercules, even though it's just like the baby Hercules, the young Hercules. It's still Hercules.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that as prominent and as like, you never forget like big Hercules. Like for that movie, like I can just off the top of my head, I can remember exactly what he looks like. You know what I mean? It's not like this forgotten character. I almost look at it as the Lion King. You remember Simba being the cub as much as you remember him being, the big lion.
Absolutely.
It was that pivotal of a character for the movie, and if that character is not good enough, he doesn't set up the later character and deserve that kind of transformation. So that's awesome. Coming out of that, did you like? Is the temptation there to be like, well, I just had this mega big thing, like I'm going to the next mega big thing, or like what was the feeling coming out of that before the next thing?
I mean, at that time, I still wasn't really focused completely on voiceover. I was still doing on camera. So as big of a thing as that was, like I still was kind of chasing that on-camera show, on-camera movie, something like that. But it was a big deal. And it was very exciting. I would say, I mean, with the entertainment industry in general, you're always looking for the next job. Like even today, even with all the stuff I've done, none of that really matters. You still have to audition for your next meal, pretty much. No matter how successful you get, you're always chasing that next job. So it was kind of like that back then. Like, yeah, it was something I could say, hey, I'm in that, and that's me. But it wasn't something that I could really just kind of hang my hat on and call it a day.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was going through the next thing that popped out to me was, and I hear there's a story behind it. I kind of want to dig into it, but Spider-Man, the movie, 2002 comes out.
Yeah.
Huge. The video game then comes out, the adaptation of the movie.
Yes.
And I know you're credited as Harry Osborn / Green Goblin for whatever, or right. New Goblin for Spider-Man video game 1 and 2. But I heard there's a story behind it, and that you were supposed to originally be the voice of Spider-Man?
I was cast as Spider-Man. I recorded the entire game as Spider-Man. And then I don't know if they just used audio from the movie or if he actually came in and recorded it. Somehow, they basically got Toby. But they had already recorded the game with me. So they didn't want to waste all of that audio. So they basically put in essentially a reskin where if you beat the game, you'll unlock this version where you can play through as Harry in the Green Goblin suit, but it's really just Spider-Man. like they had me come in and re-record a couple things just so contextually it would be Harry. But I mean, that was maybe 10 lines of pickups, and the rest of it was pretty much the same audio from Spider-Man. And then for a while after that, I was kind of the de facto Harry. So they hired me just outright to be in Spider-Man, the next Spider-Man video game. And then I got hired to be in this brawler video game called Spider-Man Friend or Foe, which was actually a really fun game. It's a super simple game. It's a lot of the same recycled enemies, a lot of the same attacks. The levels are just reskins of a lot of the same levels, but it is so much fun. Because all you're doing is like pounding the shit out of stuff. You can do these team up attacks so that like, you know, you with this character is going to have one kind of a team up. Like it's a really fun game. It's like, I don't want to sell it short because as simple as it is, it's just a mindless game that you can just smash. You know, it's so much fun. But I got cast to be Harry in that. And James Arnold Taylor was cast to be Spider-Man in that, who ended up being Harry in Spectacular Spider-Man. So there's just this weird flip-flopping of spider people that was happening.
It's kismet, man. It's fate. It's
Yeah.
fate. So I guess what I'm curious is, because you were cast to play Spider-Man in the game, had you already seen the movie? Like, did they give you a reference of like, hey, this is how Toby sounds, we want you to mimic it? Or was it just, you're going to go your own route with the voice?
I always went my own route because there's certain things that you have to hit to be Spider-Man, to be Peter Parker. There's just kind of like a certain sandbox that you have to play in, certain character beats that you need to make sure you nail. Otherwise, it's not Peter Parker, it's somebody else. But within that, Spider-Man was like my favorite comic growing up. That's what I read. So I always had a voice in my head for Spider-Man. And like, this was my chance to do it. And so as much as like I wanted to kind of like, yeah, I mean, I listened to some of the movie and all that. So if there was anything that was like really, really from the movie, I'd make sure to try to like, you know, nudge it a little more in that direction. But at the end of the day, it's like, I wanted it to be my version. You know, I wanted it to be the voice that's in my head when I read comics. So, you know, but that's along with that, there's still, I wouldn't be being honest if I said that I wasn't influenced by other portrayals of Spider-Man, for sure. I mean, even coming back from Paul Soles or Dan Gilvezan or, you know, well, this was the one that I never really was influenced by, and it was mainly because I was doing, when it was really, really in its prime, I was auditioning and doing all kinds of other stuff, was the 90s Spider-Man, which I've only, like, in the last 10 years really started to watch and love. And that's like the GOAT for a lot of people.
It is.
But that, funnily enough, was not one that was really very much on my radar when I was doing my thing. And I, again, like, being a Spider-Man fan, I'm like, I gotta watch the show. You know, it's still Spider-Man, and this is like somebody that is the GOAT for a lot of people. So I'm like, I gotta see it. So, and it's a great show.
That was a heyday for cartoons, man. When you had like Batman, you had Spider-Man, X-Men, Gargoyles, like great animated shows, man. They just don't make them.
Yeah, like DuckTales, and I love
Darkwing Duck. That was my jam. That was my jam. Anyway, we go down that rabbit hole. I gotta point out, because like there's so many questions there's so many people calling it out in the chat. 2004, Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. Yep. You come in and play young Revolver Ocelot. Is that a weird thing to step in? Okay, this is a character that is well established, one that is instantly recognizable to all the fans. It's right up there with Solid Snake, you know, as far as fan popularity and love. And they're like, hey, we want you to do this young version of him. Is that daunting? Is that weird to step into another character like that?
It wasn't, because I was completely ignorant of the Metal Gear Solid franchise when I stepped into the role. I had no fucking clue how big it was. I'd never played it. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know who Hideo Kojima was. It was something that I don't even know if I auditioned for it. It was, I think I might have been direct hired on it by Chris Zimmerman Salter, who was the voice director, and her husband at the time, Patrick Zimmerman, was the original voice for Ocelot. And so she knew me because I took her voiceover class. It was her and another voiceover director named Charlie Adler, also a voice actor, Charlie Adler. And they taught this voiceover class out of Hanna-Barbera. And I was like the only kid that was ever in that class. Mainly because Charlie Adler has the foulest mouth on the planet. And so, like, I wanted to do it. One of the few times I actually said, hey, I want to take this class. And my parents are like, oh, yeah, okay, fine. So they took me over there, and Chris was like, we don't have kids in our class. And they're like, but he really wants to take the class. They're like, we don't have kids in our class because my partner, Charlie, has a very foul mouth. And my dad curses a lot. Like, he has a foul mouth, too. So, you know, my parents are like, it's probably not any worse than anything he's heard at home. It was a lot worse than everything I had heard at home. But, you know, I rolled with it, and they didn't really hold back on my account, and I had a great time in the class, and I've stayed in really close touch with both of them since then. Like, they're great friends of mine. And I can't remember auditioning for it. I almost think I might have auditioned for it. But either way, I knew it was Chris Zimmerman directing it. I was very comfortable with her. And she basically just kind of, whenever I was doing what I thought needed to be done, her only direction was cockier. And so she just kept turning that knob up, and that's where we got Revolver Ocelot.
Wow.
Because I had no idea how big of a deal it was. It wasn't until after the fact that I was like, oh my God. And it was kind of a similar thing with What If. Because with What If, like, you know, I've done voice matches for other people before, and I've voice matched Chris Evans before, so it was just kind of like, you know, I did my homework, I did the thing, and it wasn't until after I had already finished recording the stuff for the season that I found out that it was going to be canon MCU. And then I was like, wait, what? Because there were only like 4 or 5 people that weren't the original cast members to come back. And so I was like freaked out because I was like, okay, if this is going to be canon MCU, they're going to freaking hate me because I'm not Chris. And this is the same guy that they've been hearing for a decade. And now here's this random voiceover guy coming in, and I'm like, they're going to like roast me over the coals. And for the most part, everybody was like, everybody was super nice. They either said one of two things. They said, I didn't know it wasn't Chris until I saw the credits. Or, I knew it wasn't Chris, but you were a great cat. You sounded like Cat. So I was like, all right, I'll take it.
Wow. Oh my God, I can't imagine. Okay, we're going to get to that because I can't imagine that. But
had I known ahead of time how big of a deal it was, and had I known what Metal Gear was, it would have been a lot more daunting, for sure. I think sometimes living in that ignorance is kind of a saving grace.
Ignorance is bliss, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
So a question from the chat is, shoot, I lost it. Where'd it go? Did you personally do Ocelot's meow roar summoning call?
The meow, yeah, I did do the meow.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you're not a dancing monkey over there, but people are like, I need to hear him do the meow.
But I was gonna say, they did put like another actual like tiger or something sound effect underneath, but it was kind of like a wow, something like that.
I just had a flashback. Oh my God, it's so weird hearing it in my head.
I remember asking him, like, do you want like a roar or like a meow, like a cat meow? And they're like, no, just a meow. I was like, really? So like, wow.
I can imagine you're sitting there. You're like things like
there's no way they're gonna use that. There's no way.
I get paid to do this. This is a strange job I have. So okay. Again, so I'm jumping all over the place because there's just so much. You've had such an amazing career. 2008, spectacular Spider-Man.
Yes.
What a huge, I mean, at this point, you know, again, like you said, the 90s kind of Spider-Man that had cemented itself as like this is the pinnacle, this is the bar. But there were some really great other versions, the Ultimate Spider-Mans and the different even Spidey and Friends, like all the different age demographics, different styles and whatnot, all had their merit. But still, you know, getting the nod to say, hey, we are entrusting this beloved character, this worldwide known, worldwide loved character. So the question was, from the chat, how was it being a Spider-Man fan, getting the chance to voice him in Spectacular Spider-Man?
Well, it was a dream come true. It was like literally probably like the number one thing that I had on my bucket list that I was able to check off. And it was one that I had to like re-add because like I got to be him in the movie game and then not. So it's like, yeah, Spider-Man, awesome. I can be I gotta be Spider-Man. And now I was getting cast to headline this show, and not just any show, like a show by the guy that made Gargoyles, and it was such an amazing experience. They had such a great supporting cast in that. Everybody played their parts to perfection. The art style was amazing. The action sequences were incredible. The music was great. There was so much fan service in the show. Like little things, like the fact that nobody in the show that had a name was not from the comics. It didn't matter if it was just like a janitor somewhere. If they had a name, there was an issue that Greg could pull out and say, this is the issue that this person was from. Like, who does that? Seriously, who does that? Nobody does that. And that's for people like me that really, really loved and ate and breathed this stuff growing up. Like that's like respect, you know. That's something that you look at and you're like, this person really was writing a love letter to Spider-Man fans in general, to the whole world of Spider-Man. Like there were even there's a ton of examples where within the context of the story animation, they'll recreate iconic covers within the show. Like stuff like that. Like, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And getting to be a part of that show, not just a Spider-Man show, but that one.
Yeah.
Was a treat. You know?
That's always something so awesome when you get a little bit of that. Because you don't want to go too far in the fan service, but just when you get just little things where you go like, oh, that was for me. I saw that.
They don't really call it out. It's something like they don't. It's not like they advertised. Oh, in this one we're gonna have a cover from that. No, it's just like it was just in there, and the sharp-eyed viewers are gonna be like, that's this issue. Holy shit, you know, and they're gonna geek out about it.
Damn right.
It's something that that was never even really pushed to the forefront. It was just there. And when something is made with that much care, it's like I'll look at like my electrical panel in the back. I love that electrician because 99.9% of people are never going to remove the panel cover from their electrical panel. They're just going to open the door. They'll see the breakers if they ever have to flip something. But if you take that panel cover off, every single breaker is landed perfect 90-degree angle. No slop in any of the stuff. Everything is perfectly like zip tied and routed. And everything, all the bends are perfect. Everything is beautiful, and no one's ever going to see it. That's pride in work. That is pride in work, and that's shit to be proud of, you know. And that's how I feel about Spectacular Spider-Man. Like, it didn't matter whether it was going to be under the hood or not. They put in the time, they put in the detail, they put in the care because they all freaking loved Spider-Man. Everybody on the show loved Spider-Man, and I think that really showed it in the show.
Yeah,
and that's why, like 13 years later, people are still like, "This is my show."
That's so cool.
I'm biased. It's always been my show, but I mean, that's why it's my show. Even if there was some way that you could take me, Josh Keaton, out of the show and still have like the same some other random Kosh Jeet, whatever, doing the performance, and I'm a big Kosh Jeet fan, it would still be an awesome show, even if I had no personal interest in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everything was just done to perfection on that show.
So good. In an interest of time, we're gonna have to fast forward a couple, but honorable mentions, because I do shout out Ninja Gaiden, you know, Ryu Hayabusa, the Green Lantern animated series. You got to do Hal Jordan, Green Lantern.
That one got axed so quickly.
Oh, it needed more. There's not enough Green Lantern material out there. 2016 Voltron, Legendary Defender. How freaking awesome! Do you get to be a part of the Voltron?
That was amazing.
The 2017 Avengers Assemble. You're Ant-Man.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you're just going from like powerhouse to powerhouse to powerhouse. It's crazy. And I want to jump to 2018. One of the biggest games for like a year, 2 years, Spiderman. That came out exclusively for Sony PlayStation. You got to voice and mocap for Electro. My first question is, why not Spiderman? Why not Spiderman? But was that your first kind of foray into mocap? Had you done any of that before?
Oh no, I'd done a bunch of mocap before that. I did. There was a game called Mad Max. It wasn't really a movie tie-in game, but it was around the same time. And I mocapped this. He was like the leader of the first settlement that you go to. His name is Jeet, and he basically, he was kind of like a tweaker. Like he would have all of these. He would have these like crippling headaches, so he had like all these shards of metal just kind of like poking out of all these areas of his skin, so that like when he would get one of these headaches, he would twist on that piece of metal so that the pain from that would take away from the pain in here. He was an interesting character. And that was the first thing I ever mocapped. And then there were a couple games. There was Knack 1 and 2, and I was the character Lucas in that. And so I mocapped those. Really fun games, by the way.
So
they became kind of a meme after a while.
What doesn't?
What doesn't? But they were fun games. They still are fun games. They're the games that actually taught my kids how to play video games, which was like, I think it says a lot when you're able to, as a kid who can barely hold a controller, pick up a controller, learn to play on this game, and now they're like pros. And at the same time, it can still be a challenge for adults. Like the first one, I would say, is almost a little too punishing. It's kind of like, I don't know how old you are, but it's like back from when I was a kid, and like if you died on the level, there were no checkpoints. You started at the beginning of the level, and so it was kind of Ninja Gaiden was like that, very much like that,
punishing.
So the original Knack was a lot like that. Knack 2, they kind of seemed to take all of the complaints that reviewers had, and they fixed them. So Knack 2 is an even better game.
Yeah.
Those were the first two that I really mocapped, or the first three that I mocapped on. And then there was, I can't remember if I did Horizon Zero Dawn before Spider-Man or after Spider-Man.
I think it was after, based on my research. But so at this point, you'd done a lot of heroes, couple villains and nature. What was it like as a Spider-Man fan? Electro's one of the Sinister Six. He's one of the big ones. Yeah. What was it like stepping into the role of was it Max Dillon of Electro?
It was. I basically just had to. I had to figure out a way to make myself not sound like Spider-Man. Spider-Man was mostly my voice, pitched up a little bit here and there, but mostly me. And since I wasn't playing Spider-Man in this, people still knew me as Spider-Man, I'm like, I need to make him sound a lot different. Like, a lot different. So, he's a working class guy. He's a New York guy. So, I made him kind of more of this kind of guy. And, I'm like, that'll change it up enough. Funnily enough, not the electrician that did my panel, but a different electrician that I had hired in the past sounded like that, because he was actually from New York. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to make him sound like that electrician. And so I did. So Electro is an electrician in real life.
I played him like the electrician.
I played him like the electrician that rewired the GFCIs in my kitchen.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
so question in the chats, and we're not going to try to get anybody in trouble here, but are you able to say part 2? I mean, we're going to see a little Electro? Maybe, are you in there? Can you say anything?
On the second one still. Probably not. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. We gotta get you you gotta do like because I know you did a couple of this.
The kids are growing fast, and shit's expensive, so.
I was gonna say I know you did a couple of the Spider-Man games, because you did the oh Christ, I'm drawing a blank now. Alternate Dimension one.
And Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Marvel vs. Capcom, which I love those games. I really did. So we got to figure out a way to, bring you back. Alternate dimension Spider-Man coming in. With the movies. Come on. One of the biggest movies upcoming is Spider-Man. Across the Spider-Verse is coming out. I'm sure you couldn't say if, but wouldn't it be cool if Spectacular Spider-Man joined in at some point?
I mean, they put him on the poster. Granted, there's like 100 Spider-Man on the poster, but like, they can put me in the movie, man. Like, come on.
Throw a line in,
It's been 13 years. Come on, Jerry. It's been 13 years.
I mean, how hard is it to you email a line like, hey, watch out, or so, I don't know, something off camera, he yells out, like, I know that voice. So question from someone just came in. Did you have more fun playing young Hercules or Spidey?
Oh, Spidey. Well, it's hard because like everything's relative, right? So the fun that I had when I was playing Hercules is probably pretty comparable to the fun that I had when I was playing Spidey, because when I was playing Hercules at the time, that was the hugest thing I'd ever done. I'm still a huge Disney fan. I still love Disneyland. Like, that was like, I grew up like listening to, it was like, were you old enough to remember books on cassette? Okay.
An 80s kid.
They would have like the read along, the kids' books, the read along books on the cassette where, you would read the thing would read along, and then it would get to the end of the page and hear like a bring, and you'd turn the page and it would go to the next thing. So I used to listen to these things probably until I was a teenager. It's probably why I ended up doing what I'm doing. But like, there was something comforting about just listening to those stories to go to bed, and they were just very well done and very simple. And like, I'd put them on and be like, I'll be out. So Disney was still a huge thing to me. And at that time, like, Disney was, like that was super fun. That was the biggest thing I'd ever experienced. And so now, if I was to compare them, no, you know what? I'd still probably have to say Spidey, because I was Spidey. I worked as Spider-Man for much longer than I ever worked as Hercules. Hercules was, it was a long process, because 2D animation is a long process, especially for the movies and all that. But yeah, the amount of time that I spent doing that was nowhere near the amount of time that I spent working on Spectacular Spider-Man and working on all the ancillary stuff after that. So still Spider-Man.
Do you have a little bit more time? Can we hold you for a few more questions?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't want to hold you way over, but we got questions pouring in, and I have a couple more that I want to ask as well. But from Angry Elf in the chat, he said, I just realized Josh has played Spider-Man in more projects than Toby, Andrew, and Tom combined.
Hey, look at that.
You are a quintessential Spider-Man through and through. Pete asked, do you play the Spider-Man games? Do you ever play them?
I actually haven't played it yet, mainly not because I haven't wanted to, but for a long time I played World of Warcraft. And the thing about World of Warcraft is that when you play World of Warcraft, it becomes the only game you play. And so that, coupled with kids and a marriage and work and all that, like, I not only didn't play anything else, but I didn't watch anything. Like, I got real behind on stuff. My wife and I couldn't really watch some of the things that we wanted to watch because they were too young, and we didn't want to risk them coming in during like a scene that was going to traumatize them. So there were a lot of things that we kind of fell behind on that we're only just now starting to catch up on. Movies, TV shows, stuff that came out in the last like 6-7 years that is like old hat now, but like it's new to us. Like, we're finally catching up on it. And that for me now is video games, because after Shadowlands, when Dragonflight came out, I basically said I need to take a break from WoW because I need to catch up on other video games, things like Spider-Man, things like just other things that have come out that I haven't gotten a chance to play. The Horizon games, like all those, all things that I wanted to play. My wife played a bunch of them because she's a gamer, and she never got into WoW. So, she's like always telling me, you gotta play this, you gotta play this, you gotta play this. I'm like, I know. And so now I'm finally getting to them. And now I can share them with my kids because they're awesome gamers themselves.
That's awesome. That's awesome. From Scott, he says, is there ever a temptation of like buying a collector's edition game, let's say, signing it and then selling it?
I mean, kind of, but like, there's also the fear, like all, maybe not all, but most actors have like the imposter syndrome where we're always like in the back of our heads, no matter how successful we get, we're always thinking it's any day, everybody's going to figure out I'm a fraud and I have no idea what I'm doing. It's going to happen any day. And so there's still always that like, that little insecurity in the back of your head, like, what if I do this and nobody buys it? Like, what if nobody bids on it and I'm just like stuck with this thing that I signed? And how lame is that I bought this thing so I could sign it for myself? And yeah,
I mean, and isn't that like that's the convention circuit, right? You make appearances, you take pictures, you sign things,
and there's always people that come up and ask me to sign, but it doesn't really change the feeling.
Yeah, I understand.
Get anxious about, like, nobody. It's like it's the stupid games that our brain plays with itself.
Right, I understand. Okay, a couple more things. More recently, so we touched on it a bit, but what if Steve Rogers, Captain America? I mean, I loved it. I loved the fact that it was canon. You know, if we couldn't get the original voice actors, I think we had Mick Wingert on. We talked about it. You guys knocked it out of the park. I mean, really, truly did an amazing job. How cool that after all these years of, being in the Marvel universe and being in the DC universe, like you are in the MCU. You are
that's cool.
Legit. And I'm sure, season 2 coming. I know you probably can't talk about anything. We know how it goes. NDAs and whatnot. We hope to see more of you. I'll put it that way. We hope to see more of you in there. So speaking about Mick, though, it calls to mind a question because he voiced Iron Man and Tony Stark in What If. Now, I happen to know you voiced Iron Man in 2020's Iron Man VR as well as 2022's Midnight Suns. Who did the better Iron Man? Just curious. No friends here.
Trying to do different things because he was doing RDJ and very accurate on that. Like he's a master at being RDJ. He's also a freaking master at being Jack Black. Have you heard his Poe? Uncanny. Whereas with Iron Man VR, they and also with Midnight Suns, they specifically did not want to do a Tony Stark alike. Now. Again, that being said, the man defined that role.
It's hard.
Right?
It's hard not to.
Before, it would just be, I mean, personally in my mind, because he's my Tony Stark, it wouldn't really be fair to the character who he made what it is. Like, yes, there's decades of Iron Man comics. He's always been around. He's always been somewhat popular, but he wasn't necessarily like this A-list character until Robert Downey Jr. came in and put his stamp on it. And so there's always going to be some of him that is just now ingrained in the DNA of that character. So it would be kind of dishonest to not have some of what he brought to it in it without necessarily trying to do a not an impression, but like a voice match or a sound alike.
Right.
So
there's got to be almost that homage to it.
Like an homage, but still kind of putting your own spin on it.
Right.
And I know that Mick does that as well, but he's far more accurate in terms of like really replicating the Robert Downey Jr. ness that the MCU had.
I
wasn't necessarily trying to go for that. I wasn't trying to, do the dinners and all that. Like I wasn't trying to do that.
Right.
It's just different. Like one is a very, very true to the material RDJ, and mine is just kind of a fast talking douchebag.
I think it's true to the comic. I think yours is true to the voice of the comic book character versus the live action version.
I appreciate that.
But and we talked to Mick about this too, about how like he's doing a Joker voice for an animated show, kids show. But the idea of like you're gonna. Yeah, Batwheels, exactly. Yeah. So you're gonna naturally, he's like, Mark Hamill's is a Joker voice that you can't not have a fingerprint on the character. You know, even though it's aimed at kids, you know, like you just gotta.
I mean, there are certain people who come along and they put such an indelible stamp on the character that forevermore they are going to be associated with it. Yeah. And it, like I said, it would feel dishonest to the legacy of the character to not at least have some of that influence in what you do. Yeah. It's just, you know, I completely understand that. I agree with that 100%.
There's a great call out by Pete in the chats who says, so at this point, you could shoot an Avengers animation show all by yourself, right? You've done pretty much all of the characters. Yeah. You do like a one-man show.
Yeah. The funny thing is, though, is that once all the voices are kind of in the same room, then you can kind of hear how it's the same guy. I mean, there's some that are going to be a little bit more separated than others, but I remember I had this one convention. It was a Transformers con like 2 years ago. And somebody asked me to have like this improv discussion between Peter Parker and Jack Darby from Transformers Prime. And I'm like, they have the same voice. I'm like, they literally have the same voice, because when I went to go and figure out a voice for for Jack Darby, I'm like, this guy's literally Peter Parker without the superpowers. And but instead of like wanting to have them, he wants nothing to do with it. But like, they're both about the same age. They're both kind of like these little outcast guys, you know, like, you know, not popular and all that. I was like, they sound the same. I'm like, you want me to have this conversation between two people with the same freaking voice? I'm like, how are you? Oh man, that was rough. That was rough.
So to close it out, the last one I just want to touch on real quick. You were in Tales of the Jedi. You played the Senator's son in an episode of Tales of the Jedi.
Which only got you in Star Wars.
Which means you have like closed out all the major. I mean, you're in Transformers, in Marvel, in DC, in Star Wars. I mean, what franchise? Did I miss Lord of the Rings? Are you in Harry Potter? Like, what's the next big franchise you're gonna tackle?
I really wanted to do My Little Pony, but that's in Canada. You gotta be Canadian to do that. So.
Fair enough. We got you know the DLC for, I don't know, Hogwarts, the Harry Potter game. We got to get you one of the characters. You'd be a professor in Hogwarts. Star Trek. Somebody called out Star Trek. Are you gonna jump to the Star Trek universe now? I mean,
maybe.
Okay, we can't. We'll play yes. So just as a because we didn't have time, just some other voices that I noticed in your resume: Cyclops, Human Torch, Spyro the Dragon, Robin, Nightwing, Shazam, Aquaman, A-Bomb, Flash, Barry Allen, Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, Hulking, Speed, Steve Trevor, Jack of Jack and Dexter, World of Warcraft characters, various. I mean, sir, you have voiced some of the pinnacle of voices of characters. That's incredible. Is there a voice you haven't done yet that you're like, I'm dying to take a stab at that voice?
It's hard. It's hard because I have gotten to play a bunch of them. And then the ones that I really, really like, I already have like friends who are voicing them already and who are doing an amazing job. So, you know what? I just got cast in this anime that's actually going to come out April 14th. It's called Suzume. And it's by this really, really acclaimed director, Makoto Shinkai, who's had like 2 massively successful movies. And I got cast to play the male lead in this, who for a big portion of the movie gets turned into a chair. So I am going to be voicing a chair come April 14th. So that's a new one.
I mean, yeah, I didn't see chair on your resume, so
it will be
that's awesome. My God, let me last seconds here. Where can people follow you? Where can people show support? What can people expect? What can people look forward to coming up?
All right, well, I can't talk about a lot of the stuff that I'm have coming out that hasn't specifically been announced, but I am Tony Stark in Marvel's Midnight Suns. That's out right now. I am going to be the male lead of Suzume, which comes out on April 14th, and that's actually coming out in theaters. And then, let's see, you can follow me on Twitter at Josh Keaton. You can follow me on Instagram at Space Padre. That is also my Twitch name, Space Padre, and I Twitch usually on Sundays. Play video games, chat, whatever. And let's see. I have a TikTok that's the Josh Keaton. and my YouTube is just Josh Keaton. And there's. Oh, and I also have a cameo. So if like you want to have me do a shout out in character or whatever, if you want me to say something as Spidey, I'll put on the mask. But yeah, I have a cameo. It's just cameo.com/Josh Keaton. And I think
that's all of it. I did want to point out, guys, you got to check out his clips on TikTok and YouTube. There's some great stuff. I saw singing the Spider-Man songs. I loved that. That was awesome. Loved it. And I was going to say, if for all those people that were like, have him say this, have him say that. A, the man's not a dancing monkey, so I'm not going to ask him. But B, go check out his cameo. Get your personalized...
So
get your personalized shout outs, man. Let the man do some work. But Josh, man, this was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. You are forever a friend of the show. Anytime we can get you back and geek out, we'd love to have you back and just talk more about your career, man.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
I had a great time. What's up to everybody in chat?
Yes, I'll give you the last 5 seconds. Say goodnight to everybody, and we'll toss it to a break, and we'll say our goodbyes.
All right, chat. It's been a pleasure. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of the week. Come see me on my socials. Come hang out with me on Twitch. And I'll be letting you all know all the new things that I'm doing on there. So
outstanding. We're going to keep an eye out for it. All right, guys, we'll be back with more show right after the break. Shucks.